What's up everybody, 40 the Broadway Saiyan here, and welcome back again to my YouTube channel. And in this Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis video, I'm gonna give you guys my objective evaluation of each of the 9 battle gears that's currently available that you could use your gear voucher ticket on. We were given a free gear voucher ticket because we hit a milestone, and I still see some questions asked, which one should I get? Which one is meta? Which one is this? I'm gonna try to avoid the whole meta thing because all in all, if you find one of these outfits to look really cool, if they belong to your favorite character and you care more about having fun, because we should be having fun if we're going to be playing this game, then go for your favorite. But for those of you that are still on the fence, I'm going to give you guys my personal objective evaluation. That way you guys can hopefully make an educated decision on which one you want to use your gear voucher ticket on. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the shop and go into exchange. First things first, I want to show you guys the one that I chose. So with the free one that we got, I went with Lucia because I really liked Lucia during the closed beta. I was like, we got a new character in the Final Fantasy VII lore. She's badass. She uses a sniper rifle. I went with her because she is becoming a favorite of mine. And then I bought the $2 pack that gives you guys that other gear ticket. I thought it was a good value. And I went for Zack. Why did I go for Zack? Because Zack is my favorite Final Fantasy VII character. So those are the ones that I chose just based on that. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at these gears one by one, and I'm going to give you guys my objective analysis. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at battlefield garb for Cloud, and we're going to take a look at what it does. I have to say the design for this one, it looks pretty decent. I think it looks all right. It's kind of reminiscent of his Advent Children outfit, just not as cool. So with this one, he gets boost HP and boost physical defense, and if we click right here, we see the values that he gets. So this makes him a bit more tanky, and you know, he could survive a little bit better. But in my personal opinion, Cloud is going to be primarily your main damage dealer. I know a lot of people are going to be running him as their main damage dealer, seeing as he has a banner right now that features a far superior battle gear, in my opinion. I would say this one is it's all right, you know, until they release some new weapons that potentially can give a character the ability to tank. I kind of put this one a little bit on the lower priority, but if you like it, if you think it looks cool, if you could find some value in it, then by all means go for it. I just don't think it's that great personally. Next one that we're going to look at is going to be Barrett's. So we're going to go ahead and click on Barrett's here. So his fiery cape, I have to say, design-wise, that looks really, really cool. He looks like it's like a desert, like soldier type of an outfit. I think it looks phenomenal and looks really cool on him. Now, as far as what it gives him, it's another boost HP, boost physical defense, kind of like with Cloud's. We can see the values right over here. Okay, check out the physical defense. So currently, right now in game, Barrett does have the highest HP stat. So I don't really think he needs this, especially if you pulled on the current featured stamp banner. And if you got that gear for him, that one is far superior, and it actually makes him a pretty good primary DPS, especially with this brand new weapon. I personally wouldn't go for this one either, unless you really, really like the design. The design is really cool, I will admit, but if I were to take a look at this and just look at the stats alone, I'm like, I don't really want to build Barrett this way. Again, there really isn't any gear right now that focuses on like tanking. In the future down the line, maybe, and then this could potentially have more value, but for now, I would also put this on the low priority. All right, next one we're going to take a look at is going to be none other than Tifa, our favorite female monk. Okay, so this one is interesting because she gets both a boost in her magic and her attack. So as you can see right here, she gets both a boost in both of those stats, which is pretty cool because Tifa does have a very good damage output in terms of physical and also magical. She can actually do both, but if you are going to be using Tifa, you ideally want to focus on both. I haven't really seen, at least personally, I haven't seen any success with running one physical weapon and one magical weapon. I've seen a lot better success running just one of the damage type, focusing on that. And as I covered in my last video, one of Tifa's gloves, which is the Sonic Strikers, has a 990% damage modifier at max, which is phenomenal. It's currently the highest damage modifier in terms of a command ability in the game. So I would say this costume is this battle gear is actually pretty solid for her. But if you are building physical Tifa, Maybe later down the line, we might come across a better outfit. But for now, I would say this one is actually pretty solid. If you're going to be building Tifa and you want her to deal a little bit more damage, this is probably a solid one that you want to go for. I'd say this one is a pretty solid priority in terms of what it offers for the character. Okay, next one is going to be for, Aerith. Okay, Aerith. I'm just going to say right now, Aerith is probably, if we're talking about meta and tiers, probably the most important character to have on your team in terms of survivability and support. And she could actually deal a lot of damage as well on her own with her magic capabilities. So this one gives her boost heal. She is your primarily healer. You're going to want this. Let's just put it simple. You're going to want this. And then they actually made her a little bit tankier on the magic defense side, which I thought was interesting. If this had magic attack, I think this would have been perfect. But currently, as it stands, I would actually say this is probably a top priority, because if you're going to be pulling for Aerith, everyone's wanting to pull for Fairy Tail. This is definitely one that you want to select for her, because it's just going to further improve what she does, which is support your party and give you heals. So this one, in my opinion, solid top priority if you're still unsure of which one to choose. All right. Next one we're going to take a look at is XIII, our other healer who focuses more on regen, which is interesting in my opinion. I still think a solid, heal right on is still a little bit better. Actually, it's a lot better in my opinion. But this one boosts his heal and also boosts his physical defense. This one, I guess, is solid as well, because primarily you're going to be playing him as your support. You're going to be playing him also as essentially your healer. So I would say this one, if you plan on running XIII as your support, is a pretty good option. I would say it's, not top priority, but it's a little bit up there in terms of support. Because if you don't want to run Aerith and you want to run XIII, you definitely might want to consider this one. So this one is pretty good. All right. Next one we're going to take a look at is, we're going to take a look at Zack, because we're going to go in order. So, wait, I can't view this, really? Because it's already exchanged. Okay, you know what? I'm going to go back to my characters' parties, and we're going to look at it from there. But let's go ahead and move forward. We're going to take a look at Glenn. All right, what does Glenn's gear give us? Boost attack in both physical and magic. Interesting. And then a boost in magical defense. Not sure about that boost in magical defense. I guess they have to balance it out, it seems, for these gears by giving you, both a defensive and also something that, complements the character, which in this case is going to be his offensive capabilities. Glenn actually has a pretty solid damage output. I played with him a little bit during the closed beta. Haven't used him too much yet in the official launch for the game, but this one is pretty solid. If you want him to have a higher damage output, you could go with this one. His other one is, I believe it's the one that we get through the story. I think it's more on the tanking side. So if you want something a little bit better that improves his damage, I would say go for this one. This one is solid. If you're going to use him as your primary damage dealer, even as a secondary DPS, this one is probably one that you want to consider to give to him. I will say, though, that design is kind of, it's all right. I don't really care for the design on this one. But in terms of like the options that it gives him for stats, this one is pretty good. Okay, next one we're going to take a look at is going to be for Matt. Okay, so this one is interesting because I guess it works out, because right now he doesn't have access to his Killer Hornet weapon, which is one of his best weapons in terms of damage, because he can actually dish out a lot of damage if he had access already to that Killer Hornet and Killer Attire gear. But this one looks like you could run him as your healer, and I have seen some people running him as their healer because they weren't able to get Aerith's Fairy Tail. So this one I would say is solid if you want to run him as like your support. He can still function well as a damage dealer, but you could definitely give this to him if you do happen to have his prime number, which provides a really good AoE heal, and you want to run Matt as your healer essentially. So this one I would say is also pretty solid. Not top priority, like for example, if you really wanted something good, I would go with Aerith's, but definitely a solid choice if you want to run Matt in your party and give him the role of your healer. So we're gonna go ahead and go into my party because I want to show you guys the Zack and Lucia one. So we're gonna go into party. There we go. Just click on Zack's gear. All right, so let's take a look at this. So this one boosts both physical and magical attack and also boosts his defense. Zack, kind of like Tifa, does both physical and magic very well. He has some really solid options. His enhanced sword Z and also his cutlass both have debuffs that allow him to essentially debuff a target's defensive stat, either on the physical side with cutlass or the magical side with enhanced sword Z. And then afterwards, depending on which other weapon you're going to give him, he's solid all around. So I would say this one is actually pretty good for him if you want to pick this one up, because it improves his offensive capabilities. Most people are going to be running Zack as their primary DPS anyway, so if you want a pretty solid costume for him or battle gear, I would definitely consider picking up this one. And who doesn't love Zack? Like, to me, he's the best Final Fantasy VII character. In my opinion, he's my favorite. I know he's a lot of others' favorites, so definitely a solid choice to go for. And the last one is going to be for Lucia. We're going to go ahead and go and check out Lucia here. Let's take a look at her gear. So this one is solely boost physical attack and also boost magical defense. Now, if you are going to run Lucia, I personally would like to run her more as a physical damage dealer. Currently, her weapons right now don't have the highest damage. It doesn't currently have access to the highest damage modifier that most characters have, which is 940%. But she does have access to a very good weapon, which is Black Rifle, and then also Mad Minute. They have some really good debuffs, and they also have a solid damage output. So even though Lucia's damage output is not necessarily as good as, like, for example, Cloud or Tifa or even Barrett, giving this to her will give her just a little bit of an edge to be able to compete and also apply those debuffs. So she's like your offensive debuffer. She's going to be debuffing enemy targets with her silence and her magic attack down, and if you give her this, she's just going to be dealing more damage overall across the board. Lucia is my favorite currently right now in this game, in this particular game, so I went and chose it. If you want to use this on Lucia, she's a lot of fun. I would personally recommend it, but if we're looking at it from an objective standpoint, I think in terms of damage dealers, if you're going to be running a primary damage dealer, this is probably one that you may want to consider not going for with your voucher and opting for something a bit better, such as like Tifa or Zack's, for example, to improve their damage. So then that way you have a little bit of a better option from an offensive side. But this one's okay if we're being totally unbiased. I think it's all right for her, because currently right now, even though I've been very excited for this character, I am finding her to be a bit lacking in terms of like just overall damage output. But she's still fun, and I'm still maining her, and I'm still running her. All right, guys, well, this is going to go ahead and conclude my video in terms of evaluating the gears that are available from the gear voucher ticket, from an objective standpoint. Hopefully, it helps you guys out in deciding which one you want to go for. Remember, favorites over meta. Have fun first. You don't want to stress out too much over the tier list or the meta, because all in all, we're here to have fun, and that's what's most important. Thank you guys again for watching. Stay tuned for the next video, and stay blessed, everybody.